class.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Staff Sergeant Laster. I work for Montague Police Department. And to the right of me is my Chief of Police, Chris Williams. Today, we're going to do a class on Narcan. So, Narcan is what everyone calls it. The actual name is naloxone. Okay, and what it is, it's a drug that's administered to people who have an opioid overdose. Okay, so when we think of opioids, we think of most commonly what? Heroin, right? Well, there's a lot more medications out there. There's a lot more substances that are opioid based that aren't exactly heroin. Some of those examples are morphine, codeine, hydrocodone, oxycodone, obviously methadone, and heroin. So that's just a small list of the ones that are opiate based. So naloxone or Narcan can be used if a person is under the influence of any one of those that I just named off and they happen to overdose on it. There's been cases where people have overdosed taking too much of their prescribed medication. Say they had a back surgery and they had really bad pain. Instead of taking 2 as prescribed, they take 4. Well, you know, what it does is it blocks the pain receptors in your body, and it also suppresses your breathing. So that's normally when people die. When you think of overdosing, a lot of people think that it's this, violent thing, that the drug itself is bad. But what happens is the opioid that you ingested basically tells your brain to tell your lungs, you don't have to breathe anymore, and you stop breathing. So that's pretty much what an overdose is. So what Narcan does, someone calls 911, we show up, okay, we see the signs. Normally you'll see them, they're down, very shallow breathing, they'll have a bluish tinge to them, their lips may be blue, they'll look clammy sometimes, and there may be obvious signs of what's going on. There may be a needle, a syringe, there may be cotton balls, packets of heroin, all sorts of things that could be a telltale sign. As soon as we see that, immediately in our med kit, we keep overdose kit. We grab it, we put it together, and we administer Narcan, obviously while the fire department's en route and the ambulance for advanced life support. To get over there and take over. We have a basic, all of us are trained in basic first responder and CPR and AED, but when the ambulance get there, they can start administering drugs intravenously to help them out. But this right here can and will save lives. We've saved many lives with it. It's worth its weight in gold. The problem I think we may encounter, or we have been encountering, is they're giving it away sometimes to people who need it for free. So they can go get it for free. Their friends and them are hanging out. They shoot up. Friend goes down. They administer Narcan, bring them back. It's never reported to us because they're afraid. They don't want trouble with law enforcement. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to go to jail. So they never report it. So we're running into that, which, yes, great, they saved a life, but that person still needs more medical attention after that. When we talk about this stuff, I'm going to give you some statistics we're going to go over. We're going to go over some statistics. We're going to talk about, I have pamphlets for you guys. If you're ever out and about and you happen to see it, you'll have some kind of idea what's going on if there's Narcan around for you to use. There's 2 different versions of it. I brought both of them today. I'll show you how they're administered and what they look like. But I also brought a chart, and I will pass a couple of them out to you guys so you can take a look just to see where we've gone as a society or a country when it comes to, you're welcome, when it comes to the use of opioids and overdoses. Bear with me while I put my glasses on here. All right, so you'll notice this starts back at 2000. We're in 2019 now. The deadliest year we had for opioid overdose deaths was in 2016, 2,099. In 2017 and 2018, those were estimated. You'll see that they're red. Those are estimated deaths, but confirmed deaths was the highest in 2016. In 2018, we estimate we had 1,974 deaths from overdose, and in 2017, we had 2,056. So that's a lot of people dying. Were all of those people heroin addicts? Or maybe not. But again, it could be prescription medication that you're prescribed, pain medication. So it doesn't always have to, we don't always have to go to the dark place and say, oh, they're a heroin addict because they overdose. People overdose sometimes unintentionally, not knowing, not meaning to. They want the pain to stop. So that was, the biggest, I think, eye-opener for me is when they did the statistics. And if you look at it, just in 19 years, we went from, 379 deaths, and now in 2017, we're over 2,000 dying from overdose. So it is a huge issue. It is a problem. The big pink elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. Okay. So the national and regional drug threat. Okay. So in the United States, heroin makes up 12.9% of the drug threat. In New England, it's 39.2%. Okay, 39.2%. So New England has a serious opioid/drug problem in New England. If it just makes up 12.9% for the entire, heroin makes up 12.9% for the entire U.S., okay, that sounds small in comparison, but then when you look at 39.2% of that, it's right here in New England. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, so when you put it in that perspective, it makes you wonder what's going on. Where did it all start? So, prescription opioid sales, deaths, and treatments from 1999 to 2010. So if you can see the chart here, which let me put these on so I'll be able to see the chart. Don't laugh. Okay, so we have in green, we have sales per kilogram. Okay, the red is deaths and the yellow is treatment. So you can notice back here from 1999, everything is on an increase, it's inclining. Okay, with sales being top, and then deaths, okay, second. Now, what does that mean? Well, when we found out that, so first off, heroin is not new to our nation. Okay, it became prevalent in the 60s during the Vietnam era. U.S. soldiers were coming back from Vietnam. A lot of them were addicted or introduced to opium over there. It was a huge influx. They made movies about it, and then it kind of died off. In the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, crack exploded on the scene, and crack cocaine was a big thing, and that kind of went right up into the 90s. And then prescription pills started, and then after prescription pills, we got back into heroin. So it was like a cycle. Big in the 60s and 70s, dropped off, crack cocaine came around, other drugs, and then boom, heroin came back again. So it's never truly gone away, but it was less prevalent than it is now. Okay, so you go to the doctor, go to the ER. Oh, doc, I got a bad back pain. Back pain is one of the most difficult things to prove. Okay, so what the doctor's philosophy was, we don't want our patients in pain. Okay, so they would prescribe you something. Most times it was an opiate because it works amazingly. You cannot deny that it has properties to stop the pain. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it blocks it. Okay, so you can sleep or you're not in so much discomfort. They found out it was working. So then people's like, oh, wait a minute, this stuff is good. So either they got hooked or they realized someone they know got hooked, and you go through withdrawals. You can go through withdrawals taking pills just like you would if you were actually injecting heroin because it's opiate based. The receptors say, hey, wait a minute, this is my friend, and it embraces it. So now you're hooked on opiates. So it started with the prescription pills, and now it's skyrocketed. So we have heroin out there. We have heroin laced with fentanyl. We have heroin laced with carfentanil, which is a very, very strong analgesic. They normally give it to people who are terminal. It comes in the form of a lollipop, patch, all sorts of ways. But they're now mixing that with heroin. And people say, oh, they got a bad batch of heroin. Honestly, I've never heard of a good batch of heroin, but what it is mixed with other drugs that are just as toxic. Okay, so that's what we've run up against. Fentanyl is very, very strong. Again, they normally give it to people who are terminally ill, say their life expectancy is, it may be, I've heard pancreatic cancer, bone cancer, some of the worst forms of pain and cancer you can have. So if a person is, on borrowed time and they're in pain, they just want to make them comfortable. So they may administer them fentanyl, which, kind of dulls the pain and makes them comfortable until their time comes. Well, somewhere along the line, somebody got the idea, hey, you know what? Let's mix this with this. Well, fentanyl is, I think, reported to be at least 10 times stronger than heroin and morphine, and that stuff is strong. So if it's 10 times stronger, you know, what does that mean? That's going to even suppress the respiratory process even faster. So we have people ODing because the heroin's not pure. Even pure heroin is not good for you, but now you got heroin mixed with another drug that's 10 times stronger than the drug that you're already taking. So it's really, really a dangerous thing. By 2010, drug overdose deaths outnumbered motor vehicle traffic accidents in 31 states. So what that means, guys, let's put this in perspective. So out of the whole U.S., there's 50 states, correct? Out of the whole U.S., 31 out of 50 led in overdose death versus car accident. Now, people die from car accidents every single day. We have 91 north and south, 495. We have miles and miles and miles of roadway across the U.S., right? 31 of our states had more deaths by OD than they did by traffic accidents. We drive every single day. That's scary, right? So that's, again, something, it's kind of a sobering type of information to give you, you know, that you're getting right now, to make you aware.
Especially given that's just overdose deaths.
Yes.
Not just overdoses.
No, overdose death. People who didn't survive, they surpassed motor vehicle accidents. Now, so I think I already alluded to this, but it says, how do opioids affect breathing? Okay, so your body has chemicals, opioid-based chemicals in it. Adrenaline, dopamine, all of those are adrenaline-based. So your body is not foreign. You know, it's not foreign for opioids to be in your body. So adrenaline, dopamine, all of those chemicals that we naturally have are opiate-based. So when you introduce oxycodone, morphine, heroin, your body looks at it, but hey, that's my long lost cousin, because it makes me feel the same way, right? And it embraces it. That's why they call heroin the one-hit wonder. You inject it once, you're hooked, because your body starts to crave it. You need it, you know. And when you don't get it, you go through withdrawals. Withdrawal symptoms can be really, really bad. It's been reported people can die from it. You know, they can die from alcohol withdrawal. Any type of withdrawal, I guess, you could have, you know, you could die from. But this is very different because it's told to be painful. Flu-like symptoms is the first, I think, normally the first sign when a person starts withdrawing from heroin. Their bodies start to ache. They may have an upset stomach, vomiting, diarrhea, sweating profusely, chills. All of these things are signs of like the flu. So a person who's going through that, you may look at them and not think anything of them, be like, I just got the flu, they'll be okay. That person needs medical attention. Now, we don't let people kick the habit cold turkey like back in the 60s, lock them in a room, feed them black coffee and crackers and let them, you know, sweat it out. We don't do that anymore because people can die from it. They need medical attention. When you're coming down from heroin or any drug, or you're detoxing from it, you need medical attention. Keep the heart rate up, the blood pressure, all that stuff regulated. So it attaches to the receptors in your brain. I already told you. It's like, hey, I know you. You're not foreign to me. Come on in. So now it attaches to your brain and it tells your brain, the opioids tell your brain, hey, lungs, stop. Take a break. You don't need to breathe right now. It's all good. I got this. Right? And your lungs, your brain tells your lungs to stop breathing. And it suppresses it. So now you're no longer breathing. What happens when you're not breathing? Blood's not circulating. You're not getting oxygen to the brain, right? It's no longer circulation. Lips start to turn blue. The body starts to, you know, get cold and clammy. Respiratory. So they don't just abruptly stop breathing, but their breathing becomes very shallow. And then you may see a person who's overdosed and they'll be like, in a long pause. Where normally when we breathe, we're taking breaths every couple of seconds, not even thinking about it. So when a person's overdosing, they take that, and you could wait. Then they'll take another one. That's not good. There's no way they're getting enough oxygen to their brain. So we come in, we administer Narcan, we may have to give some rescue breaths, keep the blood oxygenated, keep the blood flowing. Okay. So, I've already told you why we use Narcan, but I'm gonna give you an overview of what it does. So, Narcan knocks the opiate off the opiate receptor. So, if you see my little diagram here, the little Christmas tree looking thing upside down is the receptor. On top is the opiate, right? When you put Narcan in, it knocks these little orange balls right off the top of the receptor. Knocks it right off. So now your high is gone, and it's not suppressing things like it was momentarily, right, earlier. It temporarily takes away the high, giving the person a chance to breathe. Because remember, while it's sitting on that receptor, it's telling your brain to tell your lungs not to breathe. You don't have to breathe anymore. So as soon as we inject that, it knocks that off, and your brain says, oh, wait a minute, we need to breathe. And then you'll see the person inhale. Most times, depending upon what they've taken or what they under the influence of, they come right back. Okay? There are stories floating around that people get combative. We've seen them come out ready to swing and fight. Sometimes they wake up really disoriented. Personally, I think most of them know what happened, but they don't really want to admit it at the time. So they'll wake up like, what happened? Like, you realize what happened? Yeah, no, why was everybody here? Well, you OD. I don't do drugs, as the needle's hanging out of their arm. So it's kind of one of those situations where a lot of people, are afraid to admit it. In a case like that, you just have to do the best you can and bring them back. Narcan works in 1 to 3 minutes and lasts anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. We're blessed now with being able to mandate that person, make that person go to get medical treatment. Whereas before, we can only do it for a person who's under the influence of alcohol. Now, it goes to drug overdoses. They're going to need medical attention, okay? 30 to 90 minutes, that's a good time frame. But you want to go and get them checked out because a lot of things can go bad in that time frame. So we have the luxury now of being able to make them go to get medical attention as long as we get called. Yes. Oh, excuse me, 1 second. Okay, you first. Yeah.
You mentioned before that sometimes it's necessary to administer more than one dose of Narcan.
Yes.
How do you know?
Well, that's a great question. And give me 1 second and I'll answer that for you. I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yes, also, I wanted to know, how are you able to make them able to go to without their consent? I want to make sure you have.
Yes, absolutely. So what we have is, again, I already told you, we used to have a policy of protective custody. Protective custody is the guise of what it's under. We used to be able to place a person, they were highly intoxicated, walking down the street, could barely stand up. We get a call, they're not with anyone, they're not answering questions or coherent, they're a danger to themselves. We didn't have the luxury of just saying, all right, buddy, hey, go sleep it off somewhere. If they walk out in traffic, get hit by a car, or they fall asleep in inclement weather, freeze to death, a million things can happen. So the law allowed us to take that person and say, hey, listen, you're coming with me for the night. We're going to place you in protective custody, let you sleep it off, give you any kind of medical attention, contact your family, let them know where you are, and say, hey, sleep this off, and in the morning we'll let you go. Well, with the explosion of this opioid crisis, the governor realized that, hey, people are dying. We got to do something about this. We have to be able to intervene and make them go to the hospital. So that's how we're able as police officers. If a person ODs, we get there, it's clearly an overdose. We're not worried about the criminal aspect. We don't charge them with possession of heroin or syringes, any of that. We're concerned with their well-being. We got to get you to the hospital. They can say, oh, I don't want to go. Well, you don't have a choice. So now you're placed in protective custody for drugs. We send you over and you do it. So it's a great thing that came along. Prior to that, our hands were tied, but the governor and a lot of people, because this is nationwide, but really in Massachusetts and the surrounding New England states, they're really paying attention to this, really paying attention to it. So we're bringing it to the forefront by making them get help. They don't like us, they call us names and they kick and scream, but it's for their own good, So you asked me, sometimes you have to administer more. Yes, I've had to administer 3 times on one person, 4 times on another, all in that time frame while we're working on, because normally it takes 1 to 3 minutes. Over time, when you start working on a person or you start dealing with them and they're down, you normally see something within the first minute and a half. If you don't see any signs or they start to decline, like the breath go from to like nothing, okay, we gotta hit them with another dose, start rescue breathing and start compression. We only do compression CPR when the person's not breathing. So if they're no longer breathing and we don't see any chest rising, that's when we start doing rescue breathing CPR and administer another dose. For this one person, took 3 of them. And then after the third one, and for some rescue breathing, they come back, eyes open, and go to sit. Whoa, no, lay down. Whoa, what's going on? So it sometimes it does take quite a few to bring them back. But there's other things we do in the interim while we're trying to get them to come. We don't just spray them and sit there and wait. We're in the process of, trying to administer and to get them back. Yes.
I've heard nasty things about fentanyl.
Yes.
And, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so I can remember my cousin's cousin overdosing, but that's the only thing I can remember about, not the 60s and 70s, but about heroin, since I didn't use it. And we get to this stage, and you have all these overdoses, and so this fentanyl comes in. So when you're talking about Narcan, and people die of fentanyl, I mean, can there be a strong enough dose of fentanyl that doesn't work? Or does that, you know what I mean?
That's a great question, and I don't have a definitive answer. Unfortunately, I'm not medical personnel, but here's what I can tell you. Fentanyl is opiate based. So the same receptor, no matter how strong it is, it still attacks the receptors the same way. The Narcan is designed to push it off of the receptor. Now, it may take more of it, it may take a little more, but once it's knocked off the receptor, it's done its job. So, and it all depends on how long the person's been down. That's because if you don't get oxygenated, blood to your brain, physically, your heart may still be beating, but you may be brain dead, so we don't know a definitive answer for that. I think that by it being opiate based, it still will work, but it all depends on how long you've been down. Put it like this, fentanyl is so scary now. There was a video going around, an officer dealt with a woman who had just bought some heroin. He picked her up and, he arrested her and whatnot, and somehow along his interaction with her, it touched his hand, just touched him. Yeah. Didn't inject him with a needle or anything. He's sitting in his squad car and all of a sudden he goes out, and one of his other officers realized, they pull him out and they administer Narcan and brings him back.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, so that's a real thing. That's how powerful, it soaks right through the skin. This stuff is very, very powerful. So I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so why did they just, they used to cut it with different things over the years.
It's price.
Yeah, and now they cut it with fentanyl. I just don't understand why they don't just cut it with what they used to cut it with.
Well, here's the deal. So here's, I was a drug detective here in Montague for almost 10 years, and here's what I can tell you. Drug dealers don't, most of them, it's all about money. Yeah. It's not about compassion. They don't care, this stuff is really going to hurt someone. That's not their mindset. They want, okay, if I can get this amount and I can triple it by adding this to it, that means I can triple my money. Right, so that's what they do. So they're not thinking, hey, this fentanyl's pretty bad stuff. I mean, a person can die. They don't care about that. All they care about is the money. So when it was cocaine, people used flour, baking soda, talcum powder, strychnine, which is a rat poison, anything of a white powdery substance they will use. And what it does is it makes quantity. So it's not about quality with drugs, it's quantity. Dealers don't care about how good their stuff is. They just care about how much do I get, because if I can turn a kilo and turn that into 2 kilos, I just doubled or tripled my money. And that's what they do. So it's unfortunate how they get their hands on fentanyl. It's a good question. It could be someone who works inside of a pharmaceutical company, someone who's actually prescribed it, and someone stealing their medication and use. It's a million different ways they can get their hands on it, but it is very, very powerful. So they don't have a conscience. They don't care.
I remember when you were talking about the story about the policeman that wiped his, and I was like astounded. Because I read statistics, it was 50 times. And I'm like,
I'm sure I was being
and then they do
generous.
90 tons coming across through one of the throughways on the Mexican border, not 90 tons, but 90 kilos,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why don't they just throw them in jail and throw away the key? I mean, it's like, you're telling, what you're telling me is that pure heroin is not as strong as heroin and fentanyl. Yeah.
Not by its natural design.
Yeah.
You know, it's grown in you know, we don't have poppy fields here in America. So
Right.
clearly,
Right.
that's not, you know, we're not able to grow it here. So all the hot climates, Afghanistan, you know, Southeast Asia, that's where it all originates from. So the question is, that's far away from here. So how does it get here? You know, so once it does get here, now you have people trying to experiment with things. So it's one of those situations where it's very, very powerful. It has medicinal purposes. Fentanyl, all of that. Oxycodone, Oxycontin, morphine, they have medicinal purposes. But just like anything, there's an exception to every rule. We always find a way to go around something. And that's what we find now. You know, they're using fentanyl, carfentanil, which is just as deadly, if not deadlier, which is a synthetic version of fentanyl that they make for medicinal purpose. Somehow, people are getting their hands on it and they're able to mix it with the heroin. So yeah, yes.
I was watching a documentary from actually a veterinarian's perspective, because carfentanil, the ratio that she mentioned was, if you had 1 grain of salt or sugar, that's, you know, how effective heroin is. And then if you had, you know, like a little packet of sugar, that's about how effective or strong, I guess, fentanyl is. But if you had a pound of sugar, that's carfentanil. And she was using carfentanil in tiny, tiny doses to subdue elephants that she was working on. So if you think of how small a person is compared to how big of an elephant, it was just a really good illustration of how much stronger, or I guess deadly would be the better thing it would be to people. And it would be for, you know, the bulking and making more drugs. You know, people don't care how strong it is, but people that are cutting drugs and whatever are using face masks and gloves and things like that, because even the powder or whatever that if you're inhaling it by accident, you don't want to be, so that you know, precautions are being taken, I guess is the best way to say it, when you're dealing with it as a medicine, or even people that are, you know, drug dealers that are doing it. But when you just are one person with 1 dose of, I'm not sure what this mix is, but I know that I don't feel good and I know that I need to do this in order to, you know, your priorities shift completely.
Well, it changes, and science has shown that people who are addicted to heroin and opiates, it does change the chemicals and the structure of your brain, the way your brain works. It changes it. Whether people want to admit it or not, science has proven it's true. So they're not thinking normally like you and I would probably think. You know, here's what I can tell you: everyone who's addicted, not bad people. It can happen to anyone, but I think there's a lot of treatments out there if people sought it out. There's no, you know, put it like this, what I guess in short what I'm saying, there's really no reason for a person to be a slave to addiction now, because we have so much stuff in place to be able to help with it. But it does start as a choice. It starts as a choice, and then it turns into, you know, physiological, where physically you get sick if you don't get it. And who wants to be in pain, you know, constantly? So you keep using because you don't want to feel that way. And most times they probably legitimately want to get clean or get off of it, but it's difficult. And the pain scares them. They don't want to be in pain, so they continue using. Yes, you had a question?
Well, my family had a lot of addictions, and my brother overdosed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're here and get a first-hand idea of what this stuff's about. It changes, you know, over time. Sometimes cops get cynical doing the job, you know. It's just like we don't like change. So when it first came out and they said, oh, marijuana is decriminalized up to now, so we stamped our feet and got angry. When they said, hey, you guys got to start doing CPR and AED, we stamped our feet. When they said, oh, you guys got to use Narcan, we stamped our feet. Now we're realizing, because family members, like you said, family members, good people get addicted, you know, to this stuff. So it's an evolution process. You know, we're evolving with the times and realize, you know, no longer a junkie's just a junkie, just a junkie. You know, this is someone's father, this is someone's brother, or, you know, whatever the case is. So we now approach it that way. And I think it's good. I personally wish people would make better choices, but just because they make bad choices doesn't mean they're bad people. Good people do bad things sometimes. It doesn't make them bad. So we realize that. So we embrace it now. This moral of the story.
When they have a need to get help, they don't make a good choice for themselves to get the help. And in today's world, to get into a program or to get into the Beacon Clinic or something, they have to get permission, you know, and most.
Education is what's going to get us through this, and what's going to help a person who is addicted. It's what's going to help them becoming educated and just reaching out. You know, we do it another way. I see it very commonly is it's like the big pink elephant in the room no one wants to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about addiction, but there's another huge elephant that we have a problem with in America is mental illness. No one wants to talk about that, and we ostracize those people. We put them on like the island of like the toys of the misfit toys, right? And we stick them away, and we label them as crazy or something's not right with them. But that's a huge problem. My mom suffered from depression, chronic depression. She was medicated. It doesn't make her a bad person. There's people who's bipolar. All of these mental illnesses we don't talk about. But the more we educate people and they realize you can identify what's going on, and there's ways to help them. There's ways that people, a lot of famous people, Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's an actress, she's bipolar, right? You would never know it because she does what she needs to do. So people can live normal functioning lives and be productive members of society, even if they had a substance problem, even if they have mental illness. But it's education that gets us through it.
I have mental health problems, mental health challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised who does it. It's not a bad thing. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's
I've
just,
overcome, and I get the help I need,
Good
and
for
I
you.
get the medication that I need.
Right.
And it's been quite an experience and a journey
Yeah.
to get through it all.
Well, you're strong for doing that, and I applaud you for it. Keep up the good work. Seriously.
Officer.
Seriously.
It's a lot.
So, real quick, let me finish. So, a couple things about Narcan. It can neither be abused nor cause overdose. You can't. So, if you give a person 5 doses, it's not going to hurt them. And here's the deal: if a person goes down and you don't know and you have Narcan and you give it to them, and say it was a allergic reaction to something versus actual opioid, it's not going to hurt them if you give it to them. It's not going to hurt them at all. Okay, so it's always better, I guess, to err on the side of caution. If you have it and you suspect but you don't know, give it to them. Give it to them. And if it is, they'll come out of it. You saved a life. If it's not, no harm, no foul. It's not going to do any damage to them. Okay, so you need to know that one. Too much Narcan can cause withdrawal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, chills, muscle discomfort, disorientation, and combativeness. So normally it takes 1 dose, 1 to 2 doses to probably bring a person back, depending upon how long they've been out or how long they're under. It's not it's not a Lazarus drug. We don't bring people from the dead. If they come back, chances are they 1 iota away from being clinically dead, most likely. Okay, but they're not automatically like deceased, and we hit them with Narcan and they rise from the dead. That's not what it is. Okay, they're still alive when we give them Narcan, but they're very, very probably as close to death as you can be without actually dying. If that makes any sense, that's how close they are to actually being dead. But if we get to them in time and we give them the Narcan, it can reverse the effects of it. So that's pretty much what it is. So I want to show you guys a couple things right now. This right here is I consider old school. This is the very first Narcan that was administered to us. So what we have several different pieces, and this is what freaked cops out. This is what freaked a lot of us out because we get to the scene, it's chaotic, people are screaming. This person is blue, they don't look like they're breathing. Our training, we're trying to go through our Rolodex and remember the parts. We get this thing out, and we're like, oh, so many pieces, parts. What do I do? What do I do? We try to be grace under fire as cops, right? We are the professionals, we try to do it, but let's be real. As many people we say, we don't do this every single day for 8 hours a day. Put this together and administer, put it together and administer. If we did it that way, it wouldn't be a problem. So you get to the scene, it's chaotic, your adrenaline rise, which is opiate based. Adrenaline is opiate based, so that's why you get to shake sometime when you get nervous or you get scared, excited. 3 things happen when you get an adrenaline dump, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. One of the 3. We can't run and we can't freeze. As cops, we have to do something, so we get into action. So I would pull up on the scene, person's down, we go into our kit. We carry these in our cruiser, little bag just like this. Has this. This is the nasal and part that goes in the nose. So what we do is like a little syringe here. So we get this and we screw it right on there, just like that. The bottom part pops out. This is the ampule, okay? This is what we actually holds the Narcan, the medicine in it, right? And on here it has 2 milliliters, right? 2 milligrams rather. Sorry, not milliliters, 2 milligrams. So we would pop this bottom cap off, okay? And it goes right into the end there. Now, it looks like a syringe. So what we would do is we stick it up one nostril, squeeze until we get half of it, and then we would put it in the other and squeeze. So we've administered the 2 milligrams in each nostril, okay? While we're doing that, we're assessing the patient. We're watching them, making sure, are they breathing? Are there any signs of movement? How is the breathing? Is it increased? Is it decreased? Again, we may have a bag and giving them breaths to keep the oxygen flowing. Normally after one of these, you know, a minute and a half, we start to see some movement, some arousal. That's good. It's a good sign, okay? This is the old school, still works, okay, but not my preferred. I put it like this, you always have one you like more than the other. I like this one because it's very, very basic. Anybody can do it. This is what it looks like. This is it. That's all it is. So you get it, stick it up one nostril, and push it. Goes up there like Primatene Mist. Remember the stuff you get a nose or Afrin?
Yeah.
It squirts it up, you know, that's all it is right here. Both of them have the same medication, will do the same exact job. One's just not really complicated, just it's hard to do when you're stressed out, under stress, but it can be done. So now this is what they mentioned. This is not big. You can throw it in your pocket, carry it in your purse, wherever, okay? So this is what we've gone to. Administer the same amount of medication up the nostril. It's just a plunger. You push it, it's one hit wonder. You use it once, it has to be thrown away, okay? This doesn't have any sharps container. You don't have to put it in a sharps container because there's no needles that poke into anybody. It's strictly nasal, goes right up the nostrils, and that's it. So these are the 2 brands that are out, the 2 common ones that you'll see, what we use. We started with these and it got a little bit better technology, so we went to these. I prefer these over those, but either one will work. I'm going to pass you guys out pamphlets. Basically everything we just spoke about, it will reiterate, give you some demonstrations. Here you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. First off, if you ever out and about at the grocery store, because again, the chief and I and the cameraman were speaking prior to you guys getting here, overdoses can happen anywhere. Most commonly what we've seen, people go to public places and they go into restrooms. Cumberland Farms, F.L. Roberts, Food City. They go in, use the bathroom. Why? Because they can lock the door. Chances are they probably already starting to feel the effects of being sick and going through withdrawals, so they just scored. And they looking for the safest place they can go to get a fix. Excuse me, so they can start feeling better. And they looking around. They don't want to sit on the side of the curb in public and do it. So they're like, oh, F.L. Roberts, they have bathrooms. So they go in the bathroom, lock the door, sit down, take their time, and they do their thing. So you could be anywhere, a public park, grocery store, convenience store, gas station, don't matter where you are, somebody can go down. So if there's someone around that has Narcan and you say, well, I have it, but I don't know how to use it. Now you guys have been shown, not dubbing you guys professionals or nothing, but you have an idea of how it works. And you'll know what to look for, you know. That sheet I gave you is really, really helpful because it gives you all sorts of breakdowns of what to look for, the signs of it, and things of that nature. I know I went through it kind of fast, but here are some signs and symptoms of OD, and then I'll take any questions you guys have, and I think we'll pretty much be right where we are. So, blue skin tinge, right? Why do you think we turn blue? Why do you think they start turning blue? Thank you. We don't have oxygen, right? So we don't have oxygenated blood circulating through our body. The body gets very limp, face gets very, very pale, okay? Pulse, heartbeat is slow or not there at all. You may reach for a pulse or try to check a pulse on a person who's OD. You may not feel anything. So if you don't feel anything, look, get down and see if the chest rises. Even if it's one big breath and then a long pause. As long as they are breathing, we don't start doing chest compressions because they're breathing. It's slow and agonal, but we don't start doing compressions. We only do that on a person who's not breathing, right? Worst case scenario, if you have a bag or you have a mask, you can use it to start administering a couple breaths to them to keep the oxygen going if they're breathing. If they're not breathing, that's a different story. Now we start doing compressions. They may be throwing up. You may see vomit or spittle out the side of their mouths. Their eyes may be slightly open or rolled back or glossed over. Choking sounds or gurgling noise. It almost sound like they're snoring. Okay, that's their body way of trying to get air into it, Breathing is very slow, irregular, or just stop. So the muscles become relaxed. Opiates are amazing because they relax you. Okay, it makes you relax. Everything relaxes. It slows your speech down. Cocaine speeds you up, get you all excited, jumping around off the walls, Heroin's are different. You'll see them, they get real lethargic and sleepy and they just nodding off. That's a sign that a person may be using. Most times you'll be able, if you're around someone and you see and you suspect them of using, look for those signs. Those are telltale signs that they just used some type of opiate. Chances are it's probably heroin. Now, heroin can be injected, smoked, or snorted. Okay, got to be careful because we don't know what type of method they use to ingest it. Clearly, scene safety or your safety is paramount. Uncapped needles, stay away from them. Stay away from. If you see one and you're able to secure it in a container, old soda can or bottle or something, it's the best thing to do if you don't have a sharp container. But you have to be aware when you go to help people, you go in there too fast and you're not looking and you stick yourself on something. If it has fentanyl in it, you could go down next. Or you can contract something that maybe this person has. So there's health hazards you need to be aware of. But the best thing you can do, dial those 3 magic numbers, 911. Get us coming. And, I'm not saying don't do anything. If you're comfortable with that, you can. But you guys don't have an obligation as citizens to do anything, But I think it would be decent to call 911. It's our job to get there, and we are obligated to administer help. If you're comfortable with that level of care, go for it. If you're not, then don't. But these are signs to look for, right? If they're not responding, but when they do come around, they could be a little feisty. So beware. You don't want to be too close to them. If they come around, just step back and ask them questions. Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Listen, I got the ambulance coming. They probably say, no, I don't need the ambulance. I'm good. They're going to try to get up and walk away. If they try to leave, just let them go. Be the best witness you can be. Description of their clothing, what direction they traveled in or whatever. But don't try to physically stop them. Even though they do need medical attention, again, you didn't sign up for that. Don't get yourself hurt or put yourself in harm's way to make them stay. Because a lot of them really still believe that they're going to get in trouble. We're not into that no more. We want to get them help. We're not going to arrest them. We're not going to, charge them with the heroin for ODing or whatnot. We just want to get them, medical attention. Yes?
Hey, the new building over there, the new detox
Yes.
that they're building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to have plenty of space for people who need help. That's the reason for it, right?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's just for alcohol or if it's for anything. I'm not sure.
I think it's for both, but
Okay.
I heard it was pretty big as compared to the other one they had, which left that could run the era.
Yeah, definitely better than nothing. I think that we need more places like
Well,
that.
that's what I'm getting at. Is if people, if you're gonna make them legally go someplace, there's got to be places that are open where they have to be there.
Well, legally, we have to send them to the hospital. The hospital has to do a medical evaluation.
Yeah.
From that point on, it's up to family members or friends to try to get them into a treatment program, or actual detox. Our job at that moment is to save their life and get them to, advanced life support. from that point on. But you're right, we do need more of them because it's most times when you have to go to treatment programs, there's not really a whole lot around here. You have Ad Care out in Worcester. They sprinkle throughout the state.
Well,
But
if
it's a
you're gonna
drug.
wait a week, you're not gonna wait a week.
Right. It's easier for them to go back to using and just put it on the back burner. So yeah, I agree. We need something readily accessible to them, and I think we're doing what we can. Everything comes down
I
to
think the state
funding.
of Massachusetts, even though you mentioned the 39%, New England does a great job. I think Charlie Baker puts his heart into it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. That's
I
why
mean, he
gave
takes
us
it personally.
Right. That's why he gave us the ability
Yeah.
to place people under the influence of a drug into protective custody. Prior to that, it was just for booze. But if a person is high on heroin, they just as much as a danger to themselves as anyone else, or that's under the influence of alcohol. So that was a huge thing. You're right. The governor, we're making a lot of headway. We really are, but we're not there yet. And again, it's all about education.
Education, yeah.
Anybody have any other questions for me?
That was a great speech.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I
That was
appreciate it.
great.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I'm still learning. To be perfectly honest. Like I said, for 10 years I did the drug work, then I got promoted, and my duties kind of shifted. So I'm a little detached. I'm not totally out of it. I try to stay current, but when the chief said, "Hey, I would like you to go," I said, "Yeah, jump at the opportunity," because we can't harbor the information to ourselves and not share. If we want to stop this thing and we want to help people, they have to know what they're up against. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and say, "Oh, well, heroin's bad." No, this is what can happen when you take it. This is also things you need to worry about. So a lot of this stuff is a community sharing. Now, you guys can go back and maybe get into a conversation with someone, like, "Hey, listen, this is what happened when a person starts to OD, and this is what Narcan actually does. It's not a Lazarus drug. We don't bring people back from the dead. They're still alive, but their chances increase exponentially if we administer early enough versus just leaving them there. And what reason why that law changed, where we don't charge people, is because people were ODing and they would leave them because they were afraid to call the cops because they didn't want to get in trouble. So they would leave this person under the bridge, OD'd, and then the person would die because they wouldn't get help.
Because the law used to be, if you were present, knowing there was heroin there,
You could be
charged
Yeah.
and arrested. You didn't have to be using it. You didn't have to have it on your person. But if we're all here and one person shooting up and there's heroin here, everybody could be arrested.
Yeah.
But now nobody can.
Right.
Because they want people to call us. They want us to get us there. And now, and it still seems like some people are hesitant. People will call and then leave, but at least they're making the call and we're getting there. So we have evolved.
And cell phones help.
Well, cell phones are huge now.
Cell
Yeah,
phones
yeah,
they are
yeah,
huge.
No, absolutely.
As bad as they are, as much of a
They serve
pain
a
as they can
purpose.
be, they do serve a purpose. So yeah, don't ever be afraid to dial us through magic numbers and get us on scene, and we'll pretty much take it from there. But yeah, no, you guys were a great audience. I wish we had more, but hey, I'd rather have 3 interested parties than a whole room full of people who don't care any day. So I thank you guys for coming out on this rainy Saturday and hanging out with the chief and I, and hopefully you got something from it. Just a little bit of information
Yes, I
here and there.
Yes,
you
I
know.
do.
And
Thank
always
you very
feel
much.
free to reach out to us up at the P. I work 3 to 11. Feel free to contact myself, Chief or Lieutenant
I'm there
Bonnet.
during the day.
He's there during the
I'd
day.
like to see how we're progressing on the issue, going forward on the issue, because I know it's heartbreaking. To me, it's heartbreaking to see, my daughter goes to school with 90 kids and 4 of them have an overdose, which is what, 5% of the kids in her class. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Because that didn't happen in my era.
Yeah, I mean, people,
Other things happen, but
people
not
are
that.
still dying, but a lot less
Right.
are dying with the Narcan, because sometimes people, will shoot up alone and then someone will come along an hour later and it's too late. But at least now, just the accessibility of the Narcan has saved probably thousands of lives that we don't even know about.
She just asked, where do you get Narcan, or who do you seek out to administer?
By the,
Probably CSO or
CSO possibly,
Oh.
over in Greenfield.
Grover Greenfield.
Actually, what's the name? CSO or it's on Federal Street in Greenfield there.
ServiceNet?
Try ServiceNet. You can talk to them at ServiceNet. I don't necessarily think ServiceNet
Recovery
would.
Center?
The Recovery Center.
Oh.
They may know to point you in the direction. I don't think they give it out there, but I think they could point you in the direction of where you can get it. Because I know that people are getting it. You know,
people
they
have
are.
access to it.
Yeah, people definitely have access to it.
Does it need to be locked up and?
Well, you can't get high from it. That's the good thing about
Yeah,
it. Person,
yeah, no, there's
they
no
can't.
danger.
They're not going to
Yeah.
abuse it because you know they can't get high from it. So,
Yeah.
but it's always good. Like I say, if you get some, even if you're not an opiate user, and you carry some with you, you may save a life. You may be in the grocery store and somebody comes screaming, "Oh my God, someone's in the bathroom and they're blue." You may have that Narcan to be there right before we do and save that person's life. So that's a choice. That's up to you, but it is out there. I'm just not sure how you go about getting it. I don't think you need a prescription for it. I think you go to one of those with ServiceNet or CSO or the Recovery Center. They can point you in the direction of where, because we want people to have it now, because it does save lives.
There's also the opioid task force.
Yes.
They
Yes.
they have a Facebook page and they have a website, and they usually will either post or announce where they have, meetings for information or things like that.
Thank
So
you.
it's a couple of different.
Thank you.
Yeah, there
Try to stay
is.
away from it,
So,
especially
yeah.
in today's world.
That's a good idea.
Awesome. Great questions, guys. Great questions. I really appreciate it. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'm on medication and I just have a question
Yeah.
about medication that is, I get it, that's, if I need to dispose of it, you still have the place?
Yes, we have the
Okay.
drop box
Yeah, we have them on,
in the lobby. You come right in, put it in there, and it's disposed of by the chief and another officer.
Well, the lieutenant and the evidence guy, but like CVS has them too.
Oh, wait, my,
You have CVS or any of the local police departments. We have one, Irving has one, Greenfield has one.
Okay.
So, and then I've seen them in CVS as well, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
very-
the days of just dumping the old stuff down the toilet, flushing it, those days are long gone. But it's good that, they dispose of them properly, take them down, incinerate them, and, do
And
like you're supposed
the
to.
National Drug Take Back Day is next Saturday. So we'll be outside of the police department from 10 to 2. Where people can just drive up. We'll
Yeah,
be
if you have
outside,
old
we can drop them
medication.
off,
Yeah.
and then we bring them over to Greenfield and then they incinerate them. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you have old meds from years ago in the medicine cabinet, want to clean it out, put them in a box, bring them by next Saturday,
Saturday, yep.
from
What
10
is
to 2 at
Yeah.
the PD. We'll be outside. You give them to us. We package it
Oh,
up,
that was
send it
something,
away.
I have to check something with the pharmacy.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, you're welcome.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much. Go enjoy this rainy Saturday.
That's gonna brighten up.
It's going to mess my hair up, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.